I'm going to say something that's pretty controversial, but I really don't care. But I think we're accepting the wrong people in the vet school. Some of the vet schools are 0 hours. Some of the vet schools are 80 hours. Some of the vet schools
Wait,
are...
you can get in with no vet? I thought you had to have experience in a clinic.
Nope. Well, you know, when I look back at everything, starting back in 1990, I look at what this profession has given me, given my family. The one little tidbit you left out was that, which you probably didn't know, is that my wife's a full-time veterinarian. My father-in-law is a veterinarian. So veterinary medicine since 1990 has been my lifeblood. And I absolutely love this profession. I think it's the greatest profession in the world. I think it's absolutely incredible that you can be a manager, you can be an entrepreneur, you can be a doctor, you could be working in the pharmaceutical world, you could be working at a zoo, you could be, I mean, it's crazy what you're capable of doing. I never ever got the fulfillment though that I'm still looking for. I always in my whole life, you know, I value integrity, I value family, and I value fulfillment. Like if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something at 120%. I'm never going to half-ass anything I do. And that's just been how I was raised, being a competitive athlete, a D1 athlete. You know, I guess I've always wanted just to beat the guy next to me. I'm not saying I'm trying to keep up with the Joneses. I want to be the Joneses. And is that egotistical? It could be. For me, that's just how I am. And I've always been very competitive. 25 years in a clinical practice plus, 33 years total in a clinical practice from kennel to owning 2 practices. It got to the point where, you know, 33 years in my head, I was like, that's pretty good. And I got challenged though by Peter Weinstein. I got challenged by veterinary partners. I got challenged by other people in veterinary schools because you say this is your lifeblood. You say you love this profession, so what are you going to do for it? And the one thing is, you know, obviously I was one of the lotto winners when it came to veterinary corporate buyouts. Worst decision I ever made in my life. I regret it every day. I still makes me want to vomit. I still think about it when I drive home. I still think about it when I'm walking the dogs about, you know, did I sell out? But I did sell out, and you know, with that type of money, everything has a price, right? You know, they gave me complete impostor syndrome when they bought me out. They sold me a book of goods that, oh, we're not going to change anything, we're not going to do anything, and immediately they started changing stuff, and they made me feel as if I had done it wrong. So that competitive side of me, that imposter syndrome, led me to Pepperdine, where I got my MBA. The dean was like, hey, we've never had a veterinarian in our program. What do you think about staying on and getting your doctorate in business administration? And a doctorate in business administration is pretty cool because what you're doing is you're actually a scholar practitioner. With a PhD, you're sitting there and you're finding gaps in theories, you're coming up with your own theory, you have no clue whether or not it's going to work. With a doctorate in business administration, you've been working the problem, you know the problem, you see the problem, and you try to solve it. While I was working back after corporate bought me out, there was an article that came out about veterinary burnout and the economic impact it has on our industry, which is anywhere from $2 to $4 billion a year. I started going through the literature because I remember burnout kind of became a thing during the recession. And then after the recession, then it became compassion fatigue. Then it became veterinary suicide. And then, it became the great resignation, COVID, post-COVID. And I was like, none of this literature is freaking telling us anything. I mean, it's great work. I mean, there's a lot of depth to it, but it doesn't really deal with veterinary burnout. And it doesn't deal with why this is happening. The why, right? Everyone has a why. Simon Sinek said it best. What's your why? So why is this happening? And that's where I've decided that's where I need to go. That's where I am at this point. I'm 2 years in. I got 1 year left. My dissertation's it's actually called PAWS, P-A-W-S, The Insanity. And I'm going to say something that's pretty controversial, but I really don't care. But I think we're accepting the wrong people in the vet school. I think veterinary medicine has come to the point where we keep accepting the same type of people over and over and over and over and over again. And now we have this homogeneity of all the same types.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're wondering why everyone's burning out, everyone's, as you said before, not progressive, not trying to be a disruptor, not trying to make a change, we're not going to get to where we need to get to. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I'm going to try to uncover. I could go on forever. The other thing that led me down this path is that I had amazing mentors when I was working at a clinic before I went to vet school. 5 years. They taught me the importance of client communication. They taught me how to talk to clients. They taught me how to treat the staff. They taught me the importance of, hey, at least once a week, buy the staff pizza, take them out. You don't have to be their best friend, but have empathy for them. Because let's face it, our veterinary staff makes pennies compared to what veterinarians make. At least here in California, veterinary assistants barely make, to say they live paycheck to paycheck would be as if someone else is giving them probably some help on the side as well from the, parents, family, something, husband, wife, something like that. And, that's another thing is, support your staff. So I've decided to pay it forward. And as soon as I graduated, I was working in my veterinary clinic that I eventually bought. And I started mentoring my employees. Long story short, by the time I retired in December of 23, 20 employees of mine got into veterinary medicine via vet school.
I saw that stat. That's amazing.
All of them are still working. All of them are still happy. All of them are disruptors. All of them love the profession.
What do you think you did different? What do you think made the change?
That's what I'm studying. That's what I'm looking. So the things I'm looking at is first and foremost, there's a theory called realistic career preview, basically, which means how much time did you spend in a veterinary clinic or in a veterinary setting prior to applying to vet school? Some of the vet schools are 0 hours. Some of the vet schools are 80 hours. Some of the vet schools are...
Wait, you can get in with no vet... I thought you had to have experience in a clinic.
Nope.
Oh my gosh. That's wild.
That's wild, right? So, let's take it to another profession. Let's talk about how many of your friends do you know who were lawyers? They went to law school. Like, I'm going to be a lawyer. They graduated law school. They're 1 year into their profession. They're like, what the fuck is this? This is not... I thought I was going to be standing in front of a judge, pointing my finger at the, No, it's all paperwork. It's all emails. It's all contracts. So coming back to the veterinary medicine side, even if you do 80 hours, 100 hours, do you think 2 to 3 weeks is enough to show you the true ins and outs of the emotional drainage that you go through? Because it's not the hard skills that make us burn out. It's not the hard skills. It's all the soft skills. Right? So then another thing I'm looking at the emotional demands of this profession. Do we truly have it in the tank to get over that emotional exhaustion? Is your body prepared for it? Is your mind set for it? I'm also looking at the concept of professional identity. I don't know if I don't want to say it's a generational thing, but it could be. But it's like it looks at your values and how your values match up with the profession. If your number one value is work-life balance, your first 5 years of veterinary medicine are going to suck.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, they are. You can't work three days a week and expect to learn the skills quickly. Expect to start getting that stuff in your brain, like even drug doses, much less come up with diagnoses.
Well, and what does work-life balance even mean for the individual? Like, I feel like that looks different depending on who you ask.
Well, it is. From a researcher standpoint, there's a lot that goes into work-life balance. And also I'll throw a little caveat in there. It's like work-home interference, right? You look at this profession. My wife's a badass. I have 3 daughters. So when I say this, it's just from a researcher's standpoint. The veterinary profession is feminized. And a lot of women still believe in the traditional marriage, even though a lot of them would say that they're progressive, right? Where the husband and wife share the tasks. Trust me, I do my fair share around the house and I do all that, but my wife still insists to make sure the laundry is done, to make sure the kids, have lunch packed, make sure carpool's set up, make sure doctor's appointments are done, make sure that her Life 360s on all three of their kids, even though one of them's out of college and has her master's and the other one is going to graduate college. She still has Life 360 on them and worries about them when she's like, oh, I wonder why they're out at 1 a.m. And I'm like, I know why they're out at 1 a.m. I was a college student. But, when it comes to work-life balance, it's more like the work-home interference as well you got to throw in there, because we have feminized, and this is a very masculine still profession. This profession was started in the late 1800s in a barn, by men. And you went to Texas A&M. So
Yes.
One of the cool things would go back to school and look at all the graduating classes and just slowly walk through them. And you'll see it's all men, all men, all men, all men. Then there's a couple women. Fast forward to now, it's mostly women.
Right. So are you saying the profession was like designed for men, by men? Now women have kind of taken it over, but it's still practicing in the way that men designed?
Well, it is, because again, let's go back to traditional marriage, right? Mm-hmm. If a man went and worked 80 hours a week, he didn't have to worry about going home and doing a lot of things because women would do that.
Yeah.
Well, now these
they have real
badass
roles,
women,
like very specific roles,
right,
yeah.
These badass women are working all these hours and going through the emotional strain and demands of the profession.
Right.
But their job is only beginning because their job still continues once they get home.
It's wild. I do not have kids, and my colleagues that do, and they do our job and then also go home and do that job. I'm amazed. I mean, it's incredible and maybe a little bit insane.
It is. So the thing is work-life balance, yeah. What is work-life balance? I mean, especially when you own the veterinary clinic, do you know how many computers, iPads, journals, and of course the cell phone I would have to take on my vacation to keep up with work?
Yeah.
Because if you didn't, even as an associate, if you take 5 days off, that's like missing 2 weeks. And all your clients that wanted to see you while you were out of town,
right,
are going to be there that first day. You're going to have a full book of appointments, probably for 2 or 3 days. And you got to catch up on missed emails, missed callbacks, those pink lovely messages that are left on your desk. I
do think in this scenario, I think part of the dependent factor here is what is the culture of the practice you work in? So at my hospital, I'm the co-own it and I'm the medical director. But even from the hospital, it came with just the culture we've set is that while we're out of town, we're not bothered. We help each other with the follow-ups, and we train our clients that if your preferred doctor is not there, we trust all the doctors. You can see any of them. So luckily I come back and it's not chaos and I'm not inundated. But I think that's not the norm. I think that is a really supportive hospital with everybody's aligned on what we're going to do moving forward and how things are handled. And there's a lot of training that happens to make that happen, right? And values that have to align between all of the team. And so I want to point out that I feel like we can do this better, but I think traditionally that's just not how it's been.
Why should we change? We've been doing it for 20 years. It works just fine. How many times have you heard that quote? How many times have you heard that quote in veterinary medicine? So many times,
yeah. And why do you think 20 years ago, when it was male dominated, we did not hear about all this stuff when it comes to burnout, or at least, and it was prestigious.
I go back, I say this profession was 50-50 in the late 80s. So it's been, men decided, hey, I can make more money if I want to get into medicine, becoming the RD, right? The real doctor, as people will tell us.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's been a shift from it was, I guess, how do you feel like the view of vet med has changed?
When do I think the shift occurred? Good question. Probably 2010, right? We're just pulling out of the recession. I think things got harder. I think the biggest thing is I think clients became more educated because of Google. I think clients became more demanding because they learned through the recession that every penny counts. And I think a lot of veterinarians did not have that trust relationship with their clients. And you talked about the culture
That's
of a practice. The culture of the
Yeah.
practice is also building a client base that trusts you, right? And I think, again, going back to the professional identity, if you don't have that and you don't build that in your first 5 years, then clients really start to get skeptical. I was very blessed that I had clients that trusted me wholeheartedly. So at least at my 2 clinics, clients will never question. I mean, obviously, if something was huge, like a TPLO, they get an estimate or a treatment plan. We would call it. Estimates are for cars. We would call it a treatment plan. So they knew what they were looking at. But if I would look at a client and I would say, listen, your animal's not doing well. I'm hoping we can, pull Poofy through this thing, whether it be pancreatitis, heart failure, kidney disease, Lyme disease, lepto, name the horrible disease, heartworm, keep going on and on and on, right?
Yeah.
But they'd be like, okay. They would never question what we were doing. They never felt like they were just a price tag or a number. And I think that's where veterinary medicine is now.
Why?
I don't know.
Why do you think they felt that way?
Why do they feel that way now, that they're just a number? Because if you go and look at any of on my socials, when people respond to me, on Reddit, on veterinary boards, the cost of care has gone through the roof. It has gone through the roof. And I even heard that Nationwide is changing their policies that they no longer are going to cover 80, 90% of the bill anymore. And that's why they feel like they're just a number. I mean, obviously, we always get thrown in with human medicine, and they're like, why is an x-ray $300? My x-ray doesn't even cost that much. But they forget that they pay probably $3,500 a month for medical insurance, whether they use it or not.
So is the price the problem, or is it a miscommunication about the value and the comparison?
Well, I think the lack of communication is a huge problem, especially in early career veterinarians. I don't really think schools prepare you for the soft skills that you need. I don't think a lot of veterinarians, especially the young millennials, the late Gen Zers that are coming out, they don't know how to communicate with the client. In one of my podcasts, I mentioned I would love to do a case study where we compare, have a new grad tell the client what's going on, and then have the new grad go back to their phone and text or snap or whatever modality they want to use and tell them what's going on and what needs to be done. See which one the client responds to better. See which one they understand better.
Interesting.
I don't know if veterinarians right now are able to have those crucial conversations they need with clients. A lot of these young veterinarians are going into corporate because obviously the money is great, but you got to remember corporate is running their veterinary practice off an Excel spreadsheet. So all they care about, and you'll hear about all the time, and it's such a bullshit stat, it's called average client transaction, ACT. And that's what they look at. They look at that like it is like one of the 10 commandments. And the funny thing is, like, you could do a splenectomy for $6,000 and then you do a nail trim for $20. All of a sudden your ACT is a $3,000. And then let's say you sell a bag of food, then your ACT goes down to $1,800. So it's a bullshit stat, in my opinion. But that's what they look at. So obviously all these veterinarians are getting yelled at, you're not bringing in enough money. So they're like, okay, well, I need to do all these tests. And you don't need to do those tests. If you're in a privately run practice, you can run things differently. You could be like, hey, your dog might be limping. let's just try a couple of days of anti-inflammatories. If it's still limping, maybe we should do an x-ray, right? Your dog's bouncing around and happy, but it's vomiting, but it's still eating. Let's just give it some Serenia. Let's just see what happens, and give it a bland diet for a couple of days. And if it's still bad, then let's get some x-rays and lab work. And obviously, if they're doing worse than the next 6 hours, 2 hours, 12 hours, get your butt back in here. We're not taught like that anymore, and we're not allowed to run practices like that anymore.
I almost think I try to take it one step further, which is depends on the client. Like some clients want to do all that right now. Like they would just want to know and make sure it's okay. And then some clients are like, no, give me the Serenia. Like, I'm not paying $600 for x-rays today. He seems fine.
Right.
So there's I think meeting where the client is at can be helpful to try to tease out which ones that you can do more and meet that client where their expectations are.
Can I ask you a question on that? Can I ask you a quick question on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're throwing in work-life balance, how are you going to know how are you going to know your clientele well enough to know who's doing that? Who would want to do everything? Who doesn't want to do everything? How do you know? You don't know. You don't know unless you're there all the time. The biggest thing for early career veterinarians is to sit down and look at their practice software and figure out who the top 20 clients are. Right off the bat, right? 90% of your business comes from 10% of your clients, and everyone else is just kind of in a fishbowl. You need to figure out who those people are right off the bat, because you roll out the red carpet, you spend extra time with them, you make sure you do their callbacks, you make sure you follow up with them. Even a week later, you call back and ask them how they're doing. That's how you learn how you filter out, in my opinion. And I always call it a game. You got to learn to play or put this puzzle together somehow. Yeah. And that's one of the things you need to do.
This is something I try to teach my new graduates is you need to start learning how to figure out who to put your energy into and who to not put your energy into. There's going to be clients that are not going to be the best fit for this practice. And then there's going to be clients that are great fits, right? That are going to want to do the high level medicine and let you be a doctor and trust you to do those things. And that's who you spend the hour with and build the relationships with. But learning quickly in the room who is who so that you can learn how to play that game is so valuable to keep your bandwidth, in a good spot instead of giving everybody that high level conversation and treatment when they're either not going to trust you or are not going to do the things that you are saying are such a good idea for this pet. But I literally ask the client before I go into too much discussion. I'll put a fork in the road, and I'm like, okay. And we do ask what are your goals for this appointment? So we set, why are they here? What other concerns do they have? And then what's their goal for today? So we can figure that out. If their goal is to figure out what's going on, they're probably going to want to do diagnostics. If their goal is to make Fluffy feel better, then we're doing some treatments today. But that's not enough for me. I will also ask, there's two roads we can take today, right? We can either do all the things and figure out what's going on and really dive in. That's going to be a higher cost. Or we can just try some treatments and see how things, do the more minimal plan, see how we're feeling after we try these initial treatments and go from there. And that's a more conservative option. And I let them decide. I just let them tell me what feels best for them based on that day. If I really think we need to do some stuff, I'm just offering gold standard, giving them the price and then saying how do you feel about that? And if they're like, I can't do that today, I literally have $200, then I'm like, okay, great. Let's make a new plan with your budget in mind. And then we're just doing treatments, right? I'm making the decision that that is what is important today for the client based on where they're at. And I don't think it needs to take long. And I don't think there's a ton of research that needs to happen. But if you lead with those more open-ended questions, then I think we can get a better gauge on who's who and what they need to feel heard and seen and feel like we accomplished what they wanted to accomplish that day. But that takes a lot of training, and we don't get that training in vet school.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you right off the bat. Did you work at a veterinary clinic before you went to vet school?
Yes, I did.
How long were you in a veterinary clinic?
Probably for 2 years before.
So, 2 years before. Mm-hmm. So you knew about the game or putting those puzzle pieces together before you went to vet school?
I think I understood what I was signing up for. I don't think I understood the communication skills that I was going to need to do
really?
the game well.
So
Yes.
you still didn't learn those communication skills from your job?
Are we asking before vet school? So before
Yeah.
vet school, yeah, I was like a tech kennel assistant like you, teching. I teched at an equine practice, figured out very quickly I didn't want to do that. Like I was trying to figure out what kind of vet I wanted to be. I did ER, small animal, and was seeing, there were some veterinarians I was following that I really loved how they were talking to the clients. But it wasn't about the strategy that I have now was not what I was paying attention to then.
What changed your strategy? Was it the first bad Yelp review, the first ass chewing? What made you sit back and think?
Yeah, I graduated in the middle of COVID, actually when it first started. And so when I started, it was like we had that 1 week of that one dead week when COVID hit the US and everybody was like, what are we doing? And then it was balls to the wall busy for like 2 years. And that was right when I started. My schedule was full. And I did have breaks between appointments to like build efficiency and stuff like that. So I wasn't just like behind the whole day. But I was fully booked. And I think that did two things for me. I could learn really fast and get good quickly on how to do that stuff, how to be efficient, figure out what the client needs, move quickly. But I also my first bad review sucked, but I think because I had so many clients waiting to see me, it was this reaction of, okay, do I need to pay attention to this feedback or not? And if I don't, 10 other people are waiting to see me that will trust me if this person doesn't. So I don't need this asshole on my schedule.
Ever.
If it's feedback that's...
Ever again.
Yes.
Ever again. Right.
Exactly. And then if it's good feedback, and no matter either way, I'm calling them to be like, hey, I saw your review. Let's talk about it, right? But if it was good feedback, then I'm like, hey, I saw your review, or I heard I got the feedback from my team member about what you said, or saw your private review on our Pet Desk app, and I want to talk about it because I want to be a better doctor, and I think this is really valuable feedback. And sometimes that really built the relationship for me, but all those conversations were valuable. I think being so busy gave me the freedom to be like, I don't need that. I do need that. And if I get rid of this, then I'll have somebody there. Like my revenue's not going to suffer. I'm going to make bonuses every quarter because like everybody's here and waiting to see me. So I feel for the graduates that are graduating right now because their schedules aren't fully full all the time. And if they're really financially driven, that sucks. And you do feel like you have to cater to every single person, including the ones that I would argue we should not cater to even in the worst of times. So it gets really hard. But to like, how do you coach someone into being like, I know you need these appointments, but like, this is the kind of person that like we should just say no to, you know?
You know, it's hard because when you first get out of vet school, if you don't know that 90-10 equation that I brought up earlier, you're going to think that everybody is going to be your main revenue generator. And I challenge people to, why don't you make even your B clients an A client or your C client a B client? You know, you talk about goals for the clients, why not goals for these new grads? But you have to have communication skills and you have to have the courage to swallow your pride, realize that you're not perfect, and somehow or another open the lines of communication off a bad review.
Yeah.
What I did with bad reviews, I mean, I had probably 10, you know, and I knew also I was not everyone's cup of tea. Like, I mean, I know that. I know my personality. People who know me know that I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and what I say is what I am. But there are clients who took that off as cocky. I took it as confidence. I was ready to go the day I got out of vet school, and I still believe that because of the 5 years of experience from kennel to office manager and the mentoring I had. Vet school for me was like icing on the cake. It was like obviously throw virology out, throw poultry out, throw swine out. But like,
Right.
and you know, even while I was going through vet school, I would go golfing with my professors. Like, I would make sure I would go over and above. My wife used to call me a brown noser, ass kisser, whatever you want to call it. but for me,
It's about who you know. Yeah.
it's the networking.
It's
Exactly.
the networking.
It's the networking. And then as soon as I got out of practice, I started meeting. I mean, in Southern California, we're very blessed with the amount of specialists that we have around us. I mean, it's crazy. Now, most of them are left the state and gone to Austin, Texas, or Nashville, Tennessee, because of the cost of living and taxes and the BS bureaucracy that we call the California Veterinary Medical Board. But I made sure I got to know them too. A little trick I learned was if I had a dog that I was pretty confident was an ACL, right in front of the client, I would text a board certified surgeon and say, hey, I got some x-rays. Can you take a look at these? And I'd take pictures of them. What do you think? And I'd take a video of the dog walking. And before the client even left the building, I had a specialist consultation at no charge to them.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, at no charge to them.
It's
What do you
huge.
think? What do you think? And oh my gosh, and talking about client trust, exactly. You're like, hey, the specialist, even if they were driving home or it was 2 hours later, I would just email what they said. I would forward it to the client and be like, hey, I
Radical
got this back from,
transparency.
I got this back from this doctor. And I'd also make it very, very transparent as well that this surgeon is a very good friend of mine. We go on family vacations together, but this is what he said. And they were grateful. I never had one client say, oh, you know what? Screw you. I can't believe you sent me that. You know?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so, but I use those negative reviews to fuel my fire. Yeah, you know, again, going back to I'm so competitive. Okay, you think I'm this, you think I'm that, that's fine. Watch me go over and above. And then from every client thereafter, I would go 120% in the opposite direction of what the review said.
Did you ever get a person who left you a review to change their mind about you?
Absolutely.
Nice. How'd you do it?
One, I threatened a lawsuit, but that's another story. No, I mean, the thing is, again, you know, going back to your staff and the culture of your practice, I had a staff that would throw themselves in front of a bus for me. A matter of fact, with this new venture I'm doing now, my RVT that I had for over 20 years is now my basically partner in this venture that we're doing together. They are the ones that would go after the client. I didn't have to. I wasn't the bad one. They like had my back like there's no tomorrow.
What do you think you did differently to get that kind of trust and partnership with your team members?
Probably the same thing you're doing, right?
I
they
know, but
knew.
it's for the listeners, Dr. G. You gotta...
I know. No, I know. But I think the thing is what they knew my phone was on 24/7. And if they needed anything at all, I was there. Your car breaks down at 2 a.m, I'll come get you. Like, let's talk during COVID. One of my receptionists that I've had for 15 years, her dad was diagnosed with cancer, or was her grandfather, one of the two, going through chemo and at home. And she's like, I just don't feel comfortable, because obviously that was panic medicine, right? We thought everyone was going to die. She's like, I don't feel comfortable. I don't want to take it home. I was like, I 1,000% understand that. You have to understand that your staff have family. They have a life
Yes.
outside of the practice, and they have just as many issues, if not more, than you do as the practice owner. And you got to give them, I gave my staff autonomy to make decisions for the practice. They would come to me, they'd like, hey, I have this idea, and I'd be, okay, execute, go implement it. Because you know, if it stays implemented for at least 3 weeks, then it's probably going to become part of policy. But I also took feedback from my staff as well. The hardest feedback I got was back in 2006. My office manager and my wife sat me down and they had to come to Jesus meeting with me. And they're like, listen, you need to change your intensity. Not everyone works at the pace or has the brain bandwidth that you do. You need to change how you're interacting with all these people and what you're expecting out of them. And that was a piece of humble pie for me that I had to swallow. I knew it came from their heart and with their best intentions. And that also helped me as well.
What did you change?
What did I change? I didn't expect as much out of them. I hired more staff to help out my senior staff. You have the autonomy to train them to do what you think they need to learn. And that gave them that empowerment. And the other thing I did was starting in 2013, it was right after the recession, I put the entire staff on a profit sharing bonus. And, they're not in it for the money, but if they get a $500 bonus check every month, at least, you also will get their trust and their confidence because they feel like they have a piece of the pie, right?
You did it monthly payouts?
You got to remember, I still had the recession in my head. I knew the money was in the bank. I might as well give it to them now because I don't know what next month is going to be. And I did it monthly, and they absolutely loved it. It got rid of the whole Christmas bonus idea because they were getting monthly bonuses instead, which they loved. And then their Christmas bonus was basically whatever money they owed to the clinic, I wrote off. So that was kind of like they got free pet care, free boarding, bonuses, and someone who really had their cell phone on at all times to help them out with whatever they needed. It was a trust factor that I gave them, and it was great because, the one thing my MBA taught me is that, the best leader is a transformational leader. And basically, can you transform anyone who comes into your office off the street, wants to start working for you, to all of a sudden believe in your mission and your vision? I'm very good at that. Obviously, I love mentoring. I love helping. I love giving back. I love looking for fulfillment. So being a transformational leader is second nature to me.
Yeah. We looked up, actually, when we started this podcast, Phoebe and I researched the different leadership styles. And I was like, I feel like the transformational is the only one that is going to work in veterinary medicine. That is the one we got to be. And it's very people-centric, tailoring it to that individual and how do we help them grow. And I was like, this is where it's at. This is what's going to make the difference. I want to go back. You were talking about veterinary partner and really corporate groups in general. And you were saying that they really focus on ACT. I had it in my head that they focused on number of patients. And at my hospital, we do focus on ACT, but I don't care how many patients they see. I just want to make sure that they're offering best medicine and making sure they're doing everything for the client that they came in for and not missing stuff. That's really what we're looking at. But you were mentioning individual charges, if you sell a can of food or something like that, we don't put those on the doctor to dilute out the ACT.
But you're counting on your receptionist to do that correctly, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Yes. So there's human error in that.
Yes, there totally is. And so I wanted to hear your thoughts on what should we focus on, if not ACT and number of patients. What metrics are you watching for your doctors?
So the metrics I was looking at is the client coming back? Is the client happy? Is the client referring somebody? Is the client seeing my new doctor again? Is my client not calling me saying, hey, what's up with this new doctor? You could say ACT is hard skills, right? I was always looking at the soft skills. Because if you worry about ACT, again, you're treating a client, even though you're not doing it directly, inadvertently, you're looking at a client as a number. I was more looking at the all the things you look at for social media, right? Likes, engagement, conversations, compliments. I mean, one of the pure signs that a client is happy with my associate is they bought my associate a bottle of wine, or they bought the staff lunch, or they bring her, they bake bread for her or him. there were a lot of things I knew they would be okay. It's not the one big charge. It's the accumulation of all the charges, right? The accumulation of invoices per client that is more important. Now, how do we figure that out? What's that stat? Most of the stuff I looked at is immeasurable because it's more qualitative.
That was going to be my next question, yeah.
So the thing is, like, quantitatively, I mean, at a practice, I was looking at, okay, you know, what's my net at the end of the year? My practice was doing $5 million a year, you know?
How many doctors?
There was 2.5.
Wow.
Yeah. But again, I mean, my clients would come from, I mean, I'm in Orange County. I was in Laguna Beach, California. And I would have clients come from Vegas, Phoenix, San Diego, the desert, San Francisco. I actually had clients fly in from Kansas City because they knew I had a Swiss Mountain Dog. And they knew that I knew the breed. And they flew their Swiss Mountain Dog on their plane in from Kansas City to see me. So, you know, you got to get out there. There's other things, like look at your associates. Are they getting involved in the community? Are they doing stuff for shelters? Are they getting involved in certain breed clubs? Are they getting involved in certain training clubs? Are they getting, you know, like those are all immeasurable things that you can do. And also it shows you that they care. Are they going to leadership conventions? Are they wanting to go do CE? Are they wanting to learn acupuncture, ultrasound, cytology? Like, what is their engagement? Because I can tell you right now, if I send a veterinarian to go get acupuncture certified, which I did, I know she's going to bring that in.
Right.
And I know she's going to get clients that are looking for acupuncture. And that has nothing to do with ACT. Now, the problem I did have is for how long an acupuncture appointment takes, how much you're charging. But, you know, those acupuncture appointments became, you know, huge because this one lady, I remember this one lady had 6 dogs that she brought in for acupuncture. Now, it would cost $60 and it'd probably take 2.5 hours to do that acupuncture, right? But when those dogs got sick, who would she go to? She'd come back to us, you know? And I always think that you have to give a little to make a lot. You know, it takes money to make money. I think those are the metrics I look at. And I think that's where corporate really fails is because they think we're like a dry cleaner or a car wash. And we're not. It's not. There's so many things you can do to build your practice that are fun, not money motivated, but will bring you money at the end.
With the pool of veterinarians that we have right now, I know we talked about like we need to start making changes on who's selected, but how do I pick the kind of veterinarian you're describing when I'm interviewing vets? Like, how are you making those decisions?
It was hard to hire veterinarians. I'm not going to lie. But seriously, I would let my staff interview them, and I would have them come in for at least half a day. You know, I was the type of guy where Elanco was so happy with how much, I forgot what we sold. They're like, hey, can we buy your staff lunch? I go, instead of buying my staff lunch, can you buy me a gas barbecue? Because the staff would like to do cookouts on our back patio. And they bought me a barbecue. And so these veterinarians would come in and my staff would know that they were coming in. They would bring in all this food and I would be out there cooking, you know, turkey burgers, veggie burgers. And I would have the staff interact with this incoming veterinarian. We would not have a structured interview. It would be the exact 180 of a structured interview because veterinary medicine is not structured. I mean, I had a lot of alpha dominant, I love my job because I can say this, alpha dominant bitches that work for me. And they would 100% all have different personalities and come at this new veterinarian over 6 hours in different ways. When the veterinarian would leave, I'd get feedback from everybody. That's how I hired them. I wanted to know how they interacted with my staff, because I knew if they interacted with my staff would have their back. And guess what? I wouldn't have to be the one in the room that saying, Mrs. Quinn, Dr. J over here, she's a new veterinarian, but if I'm not here, I trust her.
Yeah.
It means more when the receptionist says that, when your technicians say that, when your kennel attendants say that, oh my God, you're going to, oh, we're so excited. We got Dr. J coming in. She's so awesome. She's so cool.
That buy-in is everything.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, so like I said, I mean, there's so many ways to do this profession differently. Mm-hmm. Veterinarians, oh my gosh, it drives me crazy. Veterinarians are so good at bitching about what's the problem, but doing nothing about it to change it. And actually, that's going to be my postdoc. That's what I'm studying. Mm-hmm. I'm studying about the lack of change in a profession.
Can you tell me about a time when your staff thought it was going to be a good hire and then it wasn't, and like what happened?
Yes, I have two of those. It started out great. Both of them started out amazing. And then life happened, and then you could start noticing they couldn't separate work from home. And they started bringing home into work. And it started to change their demeanor, how they interacted with the staff, how they interacted with the clients. I remember at my second practice I bought, I had this problem. And I finally called a staff meeting. I would never call anybody out individually. I'd always make it a group. And I remember this clear as day. And I called a staff meeting, and everyone was in there, and I basically looked at everyone, and I'm like, okay, I found out that we're turning clients away. And I knew exactly it was that doctor that was turning clients away. But I made it a hospital problem, not an individual problem. And I looked at everyone, I go, that is 100% unacceptable. Animals do not choose when they're sick. Even if they're not sick, the clients think they're sick and they have a concern. We need to show empathy for this. If any of you do not agree with this mission and vision that I am saying right now, I will give you a 30-day salary and you can go find a new job. The doctor took me up on that offer.
Wow.
But guess what? I called it out as a hospital problem. I didn't call it out as an individual problem. Because if you go after someone individually like that, then you're opening yourself up for so much crap, especially in California, right? Yeah, I just put it out there. Like, this is not what we're about. This is not what my wife's about. This is not what I'm about. This is not what, most of you here are. We're here to help animals. We didn't get in this profession. It helps that you love animals, but that's not a reason to be a veterinarian. But you want to help them, right? It's more like being a pediatrician. Like what kind of?
I totally
imagine being a pediatrician. Some of these these dog parents. Could you imagine if they had kids? Holy crap! Right? But I always say animals are a great way to get you ready to have kids because truly what's an emergency and what isn't. Does my way work for everybody? Hell no. But it worked for me.
Did you set values for the hospital to?
I had them all. On their first hire, the day they come in, I have them sign, whether they're kennel to a doctor, they have all signed a vision and a mission statement.
What is it?
Oh man, you're taking me back now. Wow. Okay. Well, my vision was to create a very progressive practice where clients feel comfortable, animals are happy, and animals leave healthy. That was the vision. Okay. Our mission statement was, no matter what it takes, and I don't have it word for word, but no matter what it takes, we will do whatever we can to help these animals. Mm-hmm. And that was it. It had nothing to do with money. It had nothing to do with money. Now, obviously, money's important to pay payroll and workman's comp and the electricity and the gas and the water and everything else and the mortgage. but it never, ever was about money. Again, it's soft skills, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
people probably gonna listen to this and say, this guy is full of shit. But, you know, that's fine. I'm used to it. I get that all the time. But again, I had very, very productive practices that I didn't have to deal with the crap that you read about on Reddit. I mean, I did a deep dive. I had I did it a month ago. I had Python do a deep dive on Reddit and compare the themes pre-COVID, during COVID, and post-COVID.
The themes of
I had it looked at mental health, stress, intentional leave. And the
in
theme,
veterinary medicine.
In veterinary medicine. I just had it go, it's so there's our veterinary medicine, our veterinary school, and all those themes are there. They just got worse. And I mean, why hasn't someone written a research paper on that? That was easy. It literally took me, with the help of AI, to come up with the Python coding and letting it run. It took 26 hours.
Why do you think it's worse? Have you heard of call out culture? Like, I feel like there's definitely been, like, just hearing what you hear in the industry and everything, I do feel like things have gotten worse. And then now I'm also, like, we're talking about how often our team members are calling out and this idea of call out culture. Like, what are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, let's go back even further. Where's the leadership of this profession, right? Where was the leadership of veterinary medicine? Who's leading us? Well, the problem is there's a lot of issues, but the biggest issue is once a veterinarian retires, they're gone, right? You look at the human medicine side. Once MDs retire, they get involved in boards. They go back to teach. They, even though they're done doctoring, they still are around the practice to help out, the younger doctors. How many veterinarians do you know that do that?
Yeah, none. Well, I know some that are like I feel like the professors usually stay in for a long time, but usually when people retire, they're doing other stuff. Like they're retired and they're getting out of vet med.
They're out of it, right? They're gone because they're fried. And don't get me wrong, the academians that teach us at school are brilliant. Mm-hmm. How many of them have fought the fight that you and I did? How many of them were in general practice?
Oh, yeah. The professors, like not many of them, if any.
Correct.
They started and ended and
And I'm going to put a plug in for Pepperdine here really quick. What I loved about the Pepperdine MBA program is that all our professors have worked out in the business world at very high level executive jobs.
That's such an interesting perspective because we talk all the time about how the stuff we learn in vet school is not super applicable to like when you actually get out into the real world. Like you have this, the like medical knowledge and of like a lot of really rare diseases too. And then occasionally you'll see one and you're like, oh my God, I learned about this. But like I didn't, you don't learn, like to our point, the soft skills and a lot of the day to day and the business and like what it actually takes to be in the industry. But we're also being taught by people who, haven't done it.
Well, let me play devil's advocate though, right? Unfortunately, all these ones that work in a veterinary school, they all have clients coming through the door that are prepared for the MRI, that are prepared for the ultrasound, that are prepared for the bone scan, that are prepared for this crazy procedure. They know they're going there for that. Their job's a lot easier. Someone comes in to see you and you're like, this gallbladder's about to rupture. Right? I mean, you're breaking that news to them. They're not prepared for that. You got to walk through that. And, how much is that going to cost? Oh, it could be up to $10,000. And I still don't even know if your animal's going to make it through the procedure or not, right?
Yeah.
That's something they don't have to deal with. When you work at that high level, I don't care if it's Davis, Texas A&M, Illinois, Purdue, you name the schools that actually have the traditional veterinary school, veterinary clinics there. People walk through those doors prepared for everything that they're probably about to get. And it makes your job a lot easier. I don't know how it is in Texas, but out here, if you're going to refer a dog, let's say for a TPLO, to a surgeon, they're like, make sure you tell the owner this could be around $10,000. So at least they're prepared before they go. There's no sticker shock, right? That makes the doctor's job so much easier. I mean, a lot of things we deal with is sticker shock. Number one, that's
Yes.
probably the worst. Number two is breaking the bad news when you find that the dog has a splenic mass that looks like it's in the liver too.
Mm-hmm.
The emotional demands of general practice, I'm not trying to say that they're not the same everywhere else, but I think in general practice they're a lot worse because we're on the front line. Like I say, general practice is the front line. Like
Yeah.
we are the ones who break it to them. And even worse are the poor receptionists, right? They're the ones who have to take the phone call. They're the first person they see. They're the ones who give them the invoice. So like, just think about being a receptionist for a second. It is the hardest position.
I literally asked my team, I'm like, how do you guys not have PTSD answering these phones? I don't understand.
Oh, they do. They do. They're just good at doing it. So,
Yeah.
so getting back to your question too, about the who to hire. One of the things that would be fun is to give them a Myers-Briggs, get their personality beforehand, right? And then also put them through an emotional intelligence test because that's one of the things I'm looking at. And in my dissertation research, everyone's taking an emotional intelligence test. I think we accept students on IQ, not EQ. And we've been talking about the emotions of this profession, right? The emotions. If you have a high IQ, chances are you don't have emotions, you're a perfectionist.
Right.
You had to be a perfectionist going into veterinary school. You had to be a perfectionist to get into undergrad. Let's be honest. I mean, it's almost impossible to get an undergrad now without being perfect. And now, then you got to be perfect to get into, veterinary school. Obviously, I'm looking for subjects that have been out of veterinary school about 0 to 5 years, but I've gotten back 16 surveys. I'm looking for as many as I can get, but the average GPA on those 16 surveys, 3.92 undergrad.
That's higher than mine.
But isn't that crazy?
That's really high. Yeah. That's wild. What do you think about the new vet schools that are opening up?
Who's going to teach them?
I don't know, but there's like 6 or 8 of them, right?
Who's going to teach them? We can't even get veterinarians to work in practice, much less go back and teach at schools because their salary is about a quarter of what it is in practice. Who's going to teach them? And I know Tina Villaret. She was a classmate of mine. She's opening that one that's in Indiana, and it's going to be virtual. What do you think of that one? Now,
It'd be interesting.
Yeah, I would love to talk to her about it. I really would. But she's so busy because I think their first class is this August. It starts this August.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh.
But I think, I think Clemson having a veterinary school, absolutely. South Carolina has needed a vet school forever. Utah State, I think there needs to be one in Utah. Texas Tech has one now, which is perfect because I think Texas A&M, in my opinion, and just to put a plug in for your school, is probably the #1 vet school in the world.
Let's go, gig 'em.
Yeah, exactly. but I'm a GI. I'm a GI guy. I was on the soft coated Wheaten Terrier National Health and Genetics Committee, so
Wow.
I was with I love Texas A&M. I love listening to their researchers. But some of these schools, like and especially the for-profit ones that are opening up, look at their NAVLE pass rates. Awful. Can you imagine spending $300,000 on an education and not being able to pass a national board exam?
Crazy. Have you seen that petition floating around about the NAVLE and getting it looked at? Because it's not. The idea is that it's not a great representation of whether or not we're ready to practice.
I think that's a bunch of bullshit. I think it's a perfect representation of whether or not you're ready to practice. I mean, it's very easy to prepare for the NAVLE. Take out journals, read the introduction, and read the discussion of every possible scenario. That's all you have to do. Read journal articles. The introduction to these research articles are incredible. You want to learn about DCM? Find an article in the ACVIM journal about DCM. Read the introduction. You're going to know everything there is to know about DCM. Next. You want, and that's another plug, is like my favorite CE to go to was ACVIM, because I was progressive. I would learn about stuff 3 years before you hear about in Vegas, because they have a whole section at ACVIM that basically is what research we're doing, right? And the subject changes every 15 minutes. They have 15 minutes to pitch and tell you what's going on.
Wow.
And let me tell you, that's awesome, because I don't know about you, I can't sit and listen to another hour and a half lecture on FIP or when I need to remove a tooth, or heart people tell us in this lecture, start your vet medin now. And then you hear it in the very next lecture, don't start your vet medin until they're in complete congestive heart failure. Like they can't even get their story straight. Perfect example, Texas A&M, I'd go to theirs, and there was a girl that was there. She's like, well, for my master's, I just decided to study salmon oil. And immediately I found out that 90% of salmon oil is found in dogs' feces after you give it to them. What did that tell me immediately? How did I implement that into practice? Dogs can't digest salmon. So go whitefish. Don't do salmon, do whitefish. Those are little tricks that would just put me over and above where everyone else would be.
I just don't know anybody who's doing that. Yeah. Like it's so interesting how disconnected veterinarians are these days. And like, I don't have any friends that are veterinarians and like read published article, at least that I know of, unless like we all just bin everything and we're looking for the quick 15-minute education,
Because you're a millennial.
Yeah, exactly.
I come from the day where we had to advertise in the phone book.
Yeah.
I used to spend $10,000 a year to make sure my name was in the phone book. I was on the third page of veterinarians, but I did have a bold bracket or a bold frame around my name so it would stand out.
Yeah, I mean, it's like even when I'm working with AI scribes and stuff like that, if they send me a PDF with 2 pages of instructions, I send it back. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. Like, someone to give me a 30-second rundown of what I need to do, or just do it for me. Like, I'm paying you. Yeah, the game has changed. I want to go back to you were talking about veterinary partner had bought your practices.
No. Veterinary partner is an organization. That's not who bought my practice, but we can call it veterinary partner. That's fine. That I can't say who bought my practice because they'll probably sue me. But
okay, sounds good.
We'll call it veterinary partner.
Okay, I'm glad you clarified that, because I thought that was the group you had mentioned. Yeah. So a group bought your practices.
Yeah.
You had mentioned already that you regretted it, and it gave you a lot of imposter syndrome because they came in and it really, it sounds to me, what I heard is that it wrecked your confidence, which is part of why, what I heard you say is why you went to go get an MBA. Correct. Talk me through what happened. And yeah, I'll just stop there. Talk me through what happened.
So they came in and they started changing everything. They changed what numbers they were looking at. They changed how they were treating my clients. They changed, and by that I mean they would send out coupons and all this spam bullshit that my clients would call me all pissed off, like, why am I getting all this stuff? And not without telling us. Our regional manager, her claim to fame was she was general manager at Lens Crafters.
Yeah, so...
Okay.
So relatable.
Our other regional manager said that she used to own a practice and she sold to this group, and now she's a regional manager. And by the things that she would do and say, I think if she owned any part of that practice, it was probably the pens and the paper clips. They treated the staff horribly. They were looking at different numbers than I did to measure success. They were very...
How did they treat the staff horribly? Like, what were they doing?
There was no excuses. There was no... If you're late twice, they would fire you. And everyone started leaving. And I told my regional manager, I'm like, everyone's leaving. What's going on? And they were like, everyone's replaceable, Dr. G. And that's why my podcast is called Irreplaceable Truths. Because not everyone is replaceable. Not my staff isn't replaceable. Not when it came to my practice and my culture that I built in my practice. They changed the culture of the practice. They changed the toxicity level of the practice. And by toxicity, I mean the psychological safety. They changed how many appointments we saw. They changed what we should be charging. I mean, every 4 months, there was a 20% increase in our charges. And I really thought I had been doing it wrong because I was like, man, could I have made more money? Was I doing something wrong? And when I went to get my MBA, the one class I wasn't looking forward to was organizational behavior. And that is the class that I fell in love with because it dealt with leadership. And I used to call the leader of our organization that bought us out an ostrich because he basically, everyone in the corporation would be like, he's amazing. But he would have his head in the sand and he wouldn't make any changes. He didn't want to make changes. He didn't want to change the way anything was being done. So the one thing the MBA taught me is that I was doing everything correct and they were doing it wrong.